Evening, guys. End of week 2. It's the Q&A session. I'm going to kick it off because I'm going to edit this down and get it up on the group ready. So tomorrow is the first. I'm just checking the calendar. It is the first of the sort of measurements. So I put something out in both groups this morning just to remind you that it's the bi-weekly measurements. Okay, so one of the things that we really encourage you to do is measure progress with body measurements and photos, as well as like looking at your workouts and things, because as we know, scale weight, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but scale weight is not always your friend. One of my one-to-one clients that I train, she works regularly with me. She will have every month, it follows the same pattern. She will have plateaus of 2 to 3 weeks, and then she'll have a drop, and then it plateaus for 2 to 3 weeks, and then a drop. And there are loads of reasons for that. My personal opinion is that is related to her cycle. So she obviously during her cycle, there's a lot of water retention. I think she's got fat loss all the way through because she's very consistent, but her body is holding on to water, so it masks that fat loss. She hasn't got a lot to lose, so we're only talking about like half a pound per week on average, and half a pound is really easy to mask with water retention. So that weight can plateau, and then all of a sudden she'll lose 1.5, 2 pounds in a week, and then she'll plateau again, and it kind of fluctuates around the set point. So actually measuring, so we measure her once a month, and her measurements drop every single month. We take photos, and you can see the difference on the photos over time, even though that scale weight isn't massive. And we have one in the WhatsApp group, don't we, Alice? Laura, who put a photo last month, and Laura's very hard on herself about the weight loss side of things, and she has lost weight. You know, she's lost about 1.5 stone over the last 12 months, but she thought it should be more. Took a photo and compared herself 12 months ago to where she is now, and it's a huge difference. Even though, you know, the scales might have disappointed her, she looks massively different, and as a result, her mindset shifted, and ironically, she's lost like 0.5 stone in the last 6 weeks. So I think that's kind of motivated her. So bi-weekly measurements tomorrow, enter them in. And again, some measurements might drop, some measurements might go up. That's normal. But what we're looking at is what happens over time. So it's what's going to happen over the 6 weeks every time you measure. Look at how your clothes feel as well. So if they're feeling looser, that's good, you know. And then you'll notice people in a couple of weeks' time, people might start saying, "Oh, you look well, you're looking different, you look like you've been losing weight or exercising or whatever." And that's where you'll get that. So we are our own worst critics, I think, when it comes to that, myself included. And I'll have days where I look in the mirror and I think, no, and then other days, oh yeah, that's all right. So yeah, Alice is nodding because she agrees.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time. So yeah, get your measurements done tomorrow over the weekend, and we'll have a look. We will look at those as well. And then we'll sort of add comments in. Well done, congratulate you, explain sort of things as well as we go through. Cool. So we've obviously had the opportunity to chat to a lot of you already. I know I've got one call tomorrow, and you are going to try and chat to somebody, catch up with somebody next week, aren't you? Really good check-ins. I really enjoyed them. And I think, you know, you guys have got a lot out of them as well. I know, Alice, you enjoyed yours.
Yeah, really good. Been a good week, yeah.
So we enjoy those check-ins to have that, and that's a new feature for this, and that's one that I think we will definitely keep going because it's good to have that face-to-face conversation and give you the support that you want. But from those check-ins, there's a couple of things that we want to go through. I'm going to let Alice talk you through scale weight and kind of fluctuations, because that was something that you chatted to with Becca. So what sort of things did you go over with that one?
Yeah, we just said how, you know, one of the key things about weighing daily is that you will notice that your scale weight will fluctuate, and that will happen. And it's the more you do it, the more you'll start to think about the reasons behind why that might be happening. because there's many different reasons why the scales may go up overnight. It doesn't mean it's fat loss. Like, don't panic. It doesn't mean, you're eating in a deficit. Even if you've gone over that, you'll still be eating up to maintenance. You'd have to eat a lot in a day. It'd be a good effort if you've gained that much fat overnight. It's more likely to be your water weight. And this can be down to anything. If you've had slightly more to eat that evening, you've eaten later in the day, or you've had more carbs, that means your body will hold on to the water, so it will mean those scales will go up. But then by weighing daily, what you'll see is the next day they're likely to drop again. And we're not looking at the rapid fat loss, we're looking at doing it slow over time, and those fluctuations are completely normal. But if you're just weighing weekly, that can be missed. And you can think it's just down to a bad week, when actually it's not. It's just that one is a small snapshot of that day and across that week. So yeah, by weighing daily, you'll start to think about these things more and hopefully learn to understand why these things happen.
Yeah, I think because it's one of the things with slimming clubs like Slimming World and Weight Watchers, and I'm not going to badmouth them. I have my own opinion on them, but that's not this is not necessarily the place to discuss them. But weighing that one weight every week, it doesn't take into account, you could have a week where you lose the weight, and then for whatever reason, whether it could be like Alice said, you could have had a more carb rich meal, you could have eaten later on in the day, you might have had a salty meal, because salt as well causes water retention. You might have had a couple of alcoholic drinks, you could have had a heavy workout. It could be that you've not gone to the toilet that day, or it could be
the weather.
The weather, the part where you are in your menstrual cycle. There are so many factors that will impact on your water weight, that for whatever reason you stand on the scales on that one day of the week and you've got this spike and you've missed the drop for the rest of the week. So this is why we encourage more regular weigh-ins, ideally daily, and it'll show you the trends. And yes, it will go up and down. I get that. I had a few weeks ago, I put a post up, and I think I put it in the last Shape Up one. My weight spiked. It went up by like 2.5 kilos overnight, and then dropped again. And what I found is the day that it dropped, I was constantly going to the toilet, literally like every 30 minutes going for it, and it was just water retention. And I looked back and I thought, actually, I'd done 2 days of really, really heavy training, and my muscles were sore. And because of that, I was holding on to water. And then as the muscles settled, my body gets rid of the water. So yeah, there are loads and loads of factors. You've got to understand that when you stand on the scales, it doesn't measure fat, it's measuring your weight. And that is your bones, your muscles, your hair, your skin, and the body fat. And actually, the one thing that really changes rapidly is water weight. Fat weight does not change. And as Alice says, you've really got to be going some. So 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories equivalent. And you've got to consume at least 3,500 calories above your maintenance to gain a pound of fat. And actually, in real terms, it's even more than that, because your body will, if you eat more, you'll upregulate, your body upregulates. So you become more active. It'll try and store more carbohydrates. It will use excess energy for lots of other things before it stores fat. And they've done scientific research into this, and they found that the average person needs to consume almost double that 3,500 calories. It's getting on for nearly 7,000 calories excess to store a pound of fat. And that's like, you're looking at strongman's level of, it's 10
yeah,
a lot. And even then, on one day, it won't store that fat. So I mean, I very sad. I've a few of the people I follow do YouTube videos of eating challenges.
Yeah.
The guy I follow called Matt Morcia, who regularly does those, and he weighs himself. He did it. He's a PT, and he did it where he ate 10,000 calories, weighed himself on the morning, ate 10,000 calories, weighed himself the next day, and weighed himself the day after, and his weight went up and then back down again. He literally gained no fat from eating 10,000 calories. So that's something that you need to kind of hopefully just remember, and that will ease it. And then just to add on to that, you know, we're not looking for rapid fat loss. In fact, your body is not, and this is a bit disheartening, but just bear with me. Your body's not that good at it's got a limit to how much fat it can metabolize and break down in a day. For most people, it's the equivalent of around about 1,000 to maybe 1,500 calories maximum. And that's if you've got quite a substantial amount of body fat to lose. So if you say somebody who needs to lose about 30 pounds, then your body can burn around about 900 calories of fat. So that's a maximum deficit of 900 calories per day, which gives you a maximum fat loss of 2 pounds in a week. If you lose more than 2 pounds, that extra weight is not going to be fat. Some of it will be water, some of it will be muscle, which we absolutely do not want to lose, and other things as well. So we need to think, right, 1 to 2 pounds is perfectly adequate. That's a nice steady rate of weight loss. And if you lose £1 a month, £1 a week for a year, that's 52 pounds, nearly 4 stone. That's a decent amount, you know. If you look at it like that, it's much better. What was going? Oh, that was the next one. So from the same person, you talked about steps. Now this is going to tie in with like this lifestyle change, because I'm going to touch on lifestyle change again. So one of your checkers, I think it was Becca again, talking about steps, and there was a that you were talking about.
Yeah, I think with steps, it's a difficult one. It's, you know, people have this number of the 10,000 steps a day, and actually, you know, if anything above 7,500 is really good, and that's what's beneficial, and that's what we should all be aiming for. But the problem is not everyone is able to do that. You know, if you do have a job where you're sat at your desk all day, you're averaging around 2,000 to 3,000 steps a day, for you to try and change and suddenly jump up to 7,500, 8,000, or even try and hit the 10,000 a day, that's a huge lifestyle change. So what you want to try and do is just try and increase them ever so slightly. So if you're looking at around 3,000 steps, try and aim for 4. Or, you know, if you're on 5, try and aim for 6, and just incorporate them as you can. Because to get another 1,000 steps in your day is a lot easier than doubling your current step count. And then what you can do is, as that becomes a habit that you are doing daily, and you can start to up that, and you are consistent then in doing your 4,000 or your 5,000, again, you can try and up it again. And you can just fit them in where you can. If you find that there's days where you've got more time, if weekends are a bit easier and you find actually we could probably be out for a bit longer, we could go for a nice walk, you know, do more that day, because actually any more activity above what you're doing daily is going to help with your fat loss. It's not all just about decreasing calories. If you can increase activity levels, it's still going to give you the same results, but it's going to be healthier and easier for you in the long run, because you won't be constantly hungry all the time. And actually, by being up, getting outside, you get the endorphins going, and you'll actually start to feel better for it as well.
Yeah, I think that's really, and it's a good point. And one of the mistakes a lot of people make in terms of activity is they try and go and smash themselves in the gym, thinking that that's going to burn loads of calories. The problem with intense exercise, and especially if you're doing a lot of like high intensity cardio, is that the body is really clever. It compensates. So if you try and burn, you know, a really, really hard workout, forget you watched this. These things are not accurate. So if they say, oh, you've burnt 700 calories, halve it, and that's probably a more realistic figure. But you're burning those, well, you're doing a lot of exercise and you're not feeding me. So what it will then do is it will down regulate a lot of other things. So you might find that your subconscious fidgeting reduces, so you burn fewer calories. It will slow down things like hormone interactions and things like that. So some of the processes within your body, it will kind of knock back a little bit. Now they call it metabolic adaptation. Your metabolism doesn't slow. Your basal metabolic rate is fairly consistent, but there's other things in there that burn calories that it will kind of just down regulate and compensate. So you'll find that if you work really, really hard in your exercises and your workouts and high intensity workouts, you'll end up burning fewer calories elsewhere. And that's why exercise is not the best way of trying to burn calories. However, weight training doesn't seem to impact it as much, which is why we recommend strength training. And then getting your steps in, because that's low intensity exercise. Your body isn't going to think, oh, what are you doing here? You know, if you gradually build those steps up, that's going to work for you. But again, it's 10,000 steps. You know, it's a number plucked out of thin air. That was, I think it was from the Tokyo Olympics in '64. It's an advertising campaign for a pedometer that they were selling. But yeah, if you can increase up to 7,500, that seems to be kind of the optimal one where you get kind of the biggest bang for your buck. If you can do more, yes, there are slightly more health benefits, but it's diminishing returns. So, you know, aiming to work up towards that is ideal. And again, it's average. So some days will be less, some days will be more. So as Alice says, if you've got more time at the weekends, walk more there, and then it will counteract some of the lower activity bits earlier on. What are your top tips then for trying to increase your steps? What would you, because I know you've got a desk job, so what sort of things do you try and...
Yes, I do have my dog, so he will drag me out every day regardless, no matter what the weather is, because I think sometimes, especially this time of year, it's really dark in the mornings, and it's really dark for most people when we're finishing work as well. So it's harder to get out because it's not as nice. But with him, we have to be up and out every day anyway, so he will always go out every day in the morning. We'll always do a good walk there, so that hits a few steps. I'm quite lucky in that although I'm mostly based at a desk, I do have to go out onto site a little bit, so I'll go and stretch my legs, and I'll find an excuse to go for a walk, you know, checking bits down there as well. But other small things you can do that make a bit of a difference is, even like if you're going to the weekly food shop, park the other end of the car park to walk into the supermarket. You know, if you just need to nip down to the local corner shop, don't drive down, you know, you can walk, you know, if it doesn't take that much longer. All those little things, park further away, walk where you can. You know, if you're doing the school drop off, if you've got the option to walk, that's another one. And yeah, just doing all of those little things. Steps around the house as well. Cleaning is a good one for getting extra movement in a day, cleaning the house. But yeah, that, you know, really simple ones would be like parking further away from wherever your destination is. And yeah, just getting yourself out. It doesn't have to be a really long walk if it is a bit dark and miserable. You know, even just 15-20 minutes can really help, like, boost you and wake you up in the morning. I actually find it really helps me to get going for the day as well.
One of these things are really good at is not concept, but my watch buzzes at me every hour. If I've been sat down for 5 minutes, it goes, get up. When it buzzes, I will walk around, and not that I'm sat down I'm lucky, I'm on my feet all day. But if I am sat down for any prolonged periods and it buzzes, I'll go, oh, right, get up, and I'll walk around, and then it'll tell me if I've done 2 minutes of activity. Great, you've done it. If you can, so in 2 minutes, if you walk around for 2 minutes and march on the spot for 2 minutes, if you want, you can do around about 100 steps. If you do that for every hour that you're working, then you add an extra 800 to 1,000 steps onto your daily step target. And I'd like to say this reminds me, you can set an alarm on this thing, going off every hour, right, get up, and even if it's to walk to the coffee machine or to go and take something else like you do, you say, oh, you find an excuse to go and walk around.
Yeah. The other thing, I can't do it in my current office, but I'm quite lucky that I'm in an office on my own. But if I'm on the phone, on a long phone call, I'll just also pace around the office. I don't know what, that's more just a habit thing, but it also helps get more steps in, rather than just sitting down on the phone.
The same, if I'm on a phone call, I'll walk as well, and it really does help. But things like you say, things like parking further away, taking the stairs instead of the lifts or the elevators, longer walks at the weekend, walking the kids to school, walking to the shop, all of these things, it's little things like that. And you might think, oh, what's the point? But if you take all of those little things, they add up, they really do. And then they really start to build up over time. You know, going out, if you have a lunch break, going out for a lunch, maybe not in this weather or when it's cold, but in the summer, going out and walking, or, you know, arranging walking, meeting up with friends, going for a walk. And it's little things that will add up. And again, it ties in with this whole idea of, this is lifestyle changes. These are things that you're doing not just to lose body fat or whatever, but it's there to help you maintain it. Because whatever you do to achieve the goals you want, you've then got to sustain long term to maintain those goals. And that's something that people who successfully achieve fat loss goals or achieve fitness goals and then maintain them, that's what they do. It's to sustain those things. So we're looking for the little things. So how can you achieve, how can you increase your steps? How can you increase your protein? You know, looking at balancing your meals, eating filling meals, learning how to include the foods you enjoy. And we were saying this before we came on this. You know, it's don't cut stuff out, because at some point you're going to have to reintroduce it. And we'll talk about alcohol in a minute. You know, don't just cut alcohol out, because at some point it's going to come back in, and then you've got to learn to control it again. So why not learn to control intake, whatever food it is, while you're doing it? Yeah. So talking about alcohol, because I know that time of year, and I think that's really key on this. I'm going to be open and honest and just say that before I did my journey, I wouldn't say I was an alcoholic, but I was definitely alcohol dependent and things. And I would regularly, it was a bottle of wine in a night, you know, and I'd sort of say, oh, I need it to de-stress. But I didn't feel any better for it. I didn't realize at the time I didn't feel any better for it. I do drink. Full disclosure, I still drink alcohol, but in moderation. And I think that's something that you need to kind of, it's that word, moderation, everything in moderation. One thing with alcohol, there is no safe amount for you to drink. Any amount of alcohol, it is a toxin. All right. So your body, when you drink it, your body is going to process that first. So alcohol contains, is it 7 calories?
Yes.
7 calories. I don't know why my mind went blank then.
Yeah.
Contains 7 calories per milliliter or gram.
Gram, yeah.
When you consume alcohol, your body's going to process it. Your liver has to process that first, and it will stop any processing of carbs, fats, and protein. All right. And it will use those calories first. Once it's done that, it can then, you know, process everything else. But while your body's processing alcohol, it's not processing the rest of the stuff. You can consume alcohol and lose fat. Calorie deficit is key. So that's one of the myths that's out there, is if you drink alcohol, your body stores fat and you're not going to lose it. Absolute bollocks. You can consume alcohol and lose fat. However, and this is the one where I think Alice will agree, not necessarily the alcohol that's the issue, although it is calorific, what you do around it.
Yeah.
So, you know, when what's your opinion on it? So when people drink, what sort of behaviors are they going to exhibit?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. You go on a night out. I mean, not that I've done this in a very long time, but you go on a night out and that's it. On the way back, you stop off at the kebab shop, you get something nice to eat. McDonald's used to be around the corner from the clubs. Like, you know, you make worse choices when it comes to your eating habits. And it's not even just that night. Next morning when you're hungover, this one I've been guilty of more recently, but you feel so rubbish that you're like, I just get me a McDonald's breakfast, just get me some grease. You know, that's what not that that's even what's the best thing to have to help with the hangover, but that's what you tend to crave, you know, is the stuff that doesn't feel as good. And then not only that, we've just said about upping your movement, you're more like just feel rubbish, you want to sit on the sofa and not move all day or stay in bed. So then your movement levels drop, which will then make you feel worse. And it just has such a knock-on effect that, it's not great.
No, it's not great. And so what we're not saying is don't drink, but it's things like drink in moderation. So lots of little things like you can look at the lower calorie alcohol is going to be your clear spirits. So things like gin, vodka with a diet mixer, you know, or having a short with a diet mixer. So even whiskey is slightly lower calorie. You can look at your dry white wines as well. They're slightly lower calorie. So Prosecco, not too bad, but champagne, if you've got expensive taste, champagne or dry whites. If you're drinking things like strong lagers, so a pint of Stella is 250 calories. Yeah. And if you drink an ale, a real ale, then a pint of ale can be 250, 300 calories. Your fruity cider is even more because of the sugar content as well as the alcohol. So, you know, if
And
you
your
are,
cocktails.
yeah, it's choosing wisely.
Yeah.
But then amount, and one of the things that I've worked on with some of my one-to-one clients is set yourself a limit before you go out. You know, it's kind of not just going out, well, I'll see how I go. It's going, I am going to have 3 or 4 drinks. You know, and you could have 3 or 4 G&Ts. 3 or 4 G&Ts is going to be around 200, 300 calories. That's manageable, and you can factor that in. If you then go, well, I'm just going to drink because, you know, see how I go, you might have 8 or 9 G&Ts, then starts adding up, or you might go on to cocktails or, yeah, and that's the issue. So it's kind of, it's that moderation, and by drinking in moderation, you can still enjoy yourself. You make better choices around your food,
Yeah.
move in the morning, you know, still do things. And it's that side of things as well. And it's, I do things like so I'll have like an alcoholic drink with a non-alcoholic drink in the middle, space them out that way, or maybe have some water with it as well. It is difficult. It is difficult, but it's making that choice. I mean, so, I did go alcohol free for a period of time, which, you know, I found it was hard at start, but I found easier. I did find it long, but then and that was during lockdown, so it was easy. But then when you start to socialize a little bit more, it's hard again. But then I put those rules in place. So I set myself a limit whenever I go out. So I say, right, 3 or 4 drinks. Occasionally I will have a blowout, you know, but that is occasionally, and that's fine every now and then. But yeah, 3 or 4 drinks. I tend not to drink in the week. And I don't drink every weekend either. So it tends to be something that I do every other weekend. And I think one of the other things with that is that when I do have a drink, I actually enjoy it more for not doing it all the time. It's that side of things as well. But yeah, just watching. I think that's particularly important over the next few weeks. It is going to be the alcohol over Christmas that I think a lot of people might.
Yeah. And it's also just remembering that if you are drinking, just think that actually, as Will said, there's many different reasons why, but alcohol can affect your scale weight as well, because you'll naturally hold on to more water, you'll feel more bloated as well. So just bear that in mind. If you are having a few drinks, if you are out, you know, we've got a weekend the way you are drinking more, just bear that in mind for your scale weight as well, that's probably going to be the main cause. So yeah, it's another way it can affect it.
100%. Cool. All right. Just tying in with that, tips I need to know. I know we talked about sort of weekends away and things, and some of the strategies you can include. So what was the one you talked about last week with just managing your weekend eating out?
Yeah, we were saying, weren't we, about how you had a really good one where you have like 2 or 4 things, you know, of that one, looking at the menu before you go out and having a look, because a lot of places now they put the calories on the menu, so it's a lot easier to plan for when you are eating out, so you can make it work within what you have. Yeah, and it's just as well making those mindful choices, and also you can plan for it through the week as well. You know, there's ways where you can easily plan in having a meal out when it's not going to, you know, undo any progress, or you're not going to feel like you have to miss out, because you can easily manage it into your week. So yeah, we touched on it, didn't we? Just went through a few things.
You put a video up on the NutriCheck how to set the easy sharing calories. But I think those are key things there. So planning ahead, 2 or 4 rules. So, you know, you've got your starter, main, dessert, and a drink. Pick 2 of them. So you might have a main and a drink, or a starter and a main, and then have a diet drink. But the one thing that came up, this cropped up with a couple of my one-to-one online clients who we've been working on this strategy, because this is something that everybody kind of has an issue with. I say an issue, but struggles with sometimes.
Yeah.
One of the things that one of my clients particularly said, that she'd chosen to choose a salad, which she wouldn't normally. She'd normally go for a burger or something like that. And she said, actually, I went for a salad, and I enjoyed that salad more than I would have enjoyed the burger. She was surprised. She's like, actually, I'm going to go for that salad more, because it was full of flavor. It had half the calories of the burger meal. It filled her up because it was a massive bowl of salad with the she had feta and chicken on it. Said it was just really tasty. So you might be surprised if you go for the lower calorie healthy option, you might just be surprised that actually you enjoy it more than you think.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where you kind of, let's say you have a takeaway and you order it, and it's always disappointing. I like the thought of the takeaway. I'm Chinese, really fancy Chinese, and you order and it's like, it was all right.
Yeah. I've had it now.
Wasn't worth the 30 quid I've just forked out for it. You know, that's the thing you need to remind yourself of sometimes. You have this idea of, yeah, it's really good and it's going to save me time because I'm not cooking it. Takes 40 minutes to an hour to arrive, and then you
Could have cooked a stir fry.
quid for the privilege, when actually you can go and get a stir fry kit, chuck it in a pan, no chopping, and have it ready in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's why you make it home is almost, if not more tasty than the Chinese, and it doesn't kind of. So yeah, I think it's kind of just look at the healthy options, and you might be surprised. You know, you might be pleasantly surprised by trying something different. The last one that was sort of mentioned was kind of importance of planning and, you know, planning the week ahead. And one of the girls that I checked in with, I'm going to speak to with tomorrow, was talking about sometimes being really tired on a Sunday and not, you know, really tired, planning's hard. And there are lots of reasons for that. And I've talked about decision fatigue is one. And when decision fatigue is where you are really, really tired and you've just not got the mental capacity to make your mind up.
I suffer it a lot.
Massively. Where planning really helps. And I know sometimes when it comes to a Sunday and you think, right, oh God, I need to plan the meals for the week. Oh God, I'm really struggling. Sunday might not be the best day for you to plan. I've got clients who do it on a Thursday. So one of my clients does a weekly shop on a Thursday and plans. And actually it works really well for her because she plans the weekend and first couple of days of the week. And then she'll do another planning day on, say, Monday evening, Tuesday evening. And then that plans up to the Thursday, and then she'll start again. So Sunday might not be the best day for your planning. Look at another day. You might have a day where you've got a bit more time in the evening to do that. So that might be one thing that you can do. There are also different levels. You might actually say, well, I'm not going to plan a whole week in one go. I'm going to do Sunday. I'm going to plan Monday, Tuesday. Tuesday, I've got a bit of time, so I'm going to plan the rest of the week, and then I'll start again Sunday. So you could do it like that, or you could just go, right, what am I doing the day ahead? What am I doing tomorrow, you know, for food and your exercise, or 2 days. So you just kind of do it. You do what works for you. There's no right or wrong answer for this. It's do what works for you. And if something works, do it. But one thing I would say, and this is where consistency comes in. One of the mistakes people make when they go on a fat loss journey is that they try and make every meal interesting. They turn into Gordon Ramsay, right? What you need to do is try and keep consistency across a lot of your meals. So your breakfast, realistically, most people probably only eat 1 or 2 different breakfasts. Keep it simple. You might only have maybe 3 or 4 different lunches that you rotate during the week. So choose a few of those, and then every now and then you might add a new one in, but keep your meals across the week consistent. I have the same breakfast. I don't have to think about it. It takes me 15 minutes to prep 5 days worth of breakfast sorted. My lunches are fairly consistent. I'll either have a wrap, or I'll have a salad, or I'll have some soup, or I've got some really simple kind of meal prep idea, which is generally rice or pasta with some protein. Those are my 4 main, and I just kind of go, what am I going to have next week? And it might be a combination of 3 of them, you know. And then my evening meals, there's a bit more flexibility, but I follow a theme. So Monday night, we always have a curry. One night of the week, we'll have pasta. So that tends to be sort of a Friday night. We have pasta night. We'll have like a fake away one night, normally on a Saturday, where we'll make our own. We'll make a homemade pizza or something like that. Every few weeks, we might order in. So if I can't be bothered to make a fake away, we'll get a proper takeaway. But there are theme nights across the week. which we kind of stick to. And within that, though, you've got a bit of variation. You might have a Mexican night. Well, we'll have a chili one time. We might do kind of nachos, cheesy nachos on another night. We might do burritos. We could do queso, whatever. But we have a theme on that night. That way, it removes some of that decision making need for decision making, so that you're not having to make decisions all the time, and it just takes the pressure off you. I think that's the main thing. I think that's everything. Right, this coming week, what are we focusing on? I think is it carbs?
I think it might be, yeah.
Fiber. So carbs and fiber, and there's loads of stuff that we learned last week on our sort of carbs and stuff. So I'm going to do and I've just done a talk today to a load of people about carbs and the importance of carbohydrates. And people are afraid of carbohydrates, and they shouldn't be. Carbs are your friends. So I'm going to try and do something, put a video tomorrow that I'll put out, or a bit of information, a PDF or something that I want you to read through with information on carbs and remove the fear. Carbs are so important, really good, and particularly for fiber. So next week, we want you to, if you haven't done already, to really focus on trying to get your fruit and your veg in. And there's loads of info on that one as well. And then I'm also going to start talking about habit forming and strategies to try and help with embedding habits, which is something I've talked about today as well with this seminar that I did. So that's next week's. If you've got any questions on habit forming or carbohydrates, put them in the group. Okay. I'll put a little post up tomorrow as well, sort of say, right, if you've got any questions on carbs, I'll respond to that, and then I will put any information I know about that. And Alice will also sort of chip in, because we've got loads and loads of good stuff on carbs. One of the lectures one of the talks that we had was basically, she was saying carbs are your friend.
Yeah, you need carbs. Stop training fasted and eat your carbs.
Yeah, that's
the summary.
Fasted. So one of the things that they said, I think, was that a lot of us, and I'm guilty of this as well at times, is that sometimes if I'm training early morning, I can't eat much first thing in the morning. It makes me feel sick. So if I'm training very, very early, I might not eat. But she was saying that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So especially for women.
Yes.
So eat your carbs. Right, guys. I'm going to go and eat some tea. I'm starving.
Go for it.
Bill, thanks, Alice. I will. We'll catch up again, and keep going, guys. We're really sort of impressed with the progress made.
Yeah, doing really well. It's great.
Right. I'll see you later, Alice, and the rest of you. Have fun. Bye for now.